Hey guys, welcome to today's training. I'm John from the Strong Life Club, and I'm going to be taking you through the training fundamentals that are going to set you up for success. And what do I mean by success? Well, here at the Strong Life Club, we're always looking at supporting people to lead long and empowering lives, okay? And the quality of their life, we want to increase as much as we possibly can. And we really believe, and the evidence is there, that using resistance-based training is going to give you the best opportunity to do that. But we need to take things into consideration with the individual. And these 10 fundamentals are really adaptable for that. So whether you are new to training, you've been training for a while, but not necessarily got the results that you're looking for, whether that is you're dealing with an injury and trying to recover from that, whether that's you got a lot going on in your life and you are having to juggle many things and you've got to get training to work for you. These are really going to help you. And being able to bring body fat percentage down, being able to maintain muscle mass and increase muscle mass is shown and continues to show to give people the quality of life that they're looking for and confidence. General health markers improve. Okay. And as we move later on into life, are really able to stave off many other life-threatening illnesses that we may pick up if we weren't able to maintain and look after the amount of muscle that we need. So let's get into it. So what gets results in the gym? So as I said, we're going to get looking into 10 essential things that are going to set you up for success moving forwards. And a lot of them that people just do not consider. But first, we must realize that whatever training program we're trying to implement, we must stay consistent. All these other things that I'm going to share with you, the fundamentals, they're useless if we aren't able to stay consistent with our training. Now, a lot of these fundamentals are going to support consistency, but I think it's really important that we understand that whenever we're setting something up, and I do this as a coach all the time, we must take the individual into consideration, and we must be setting things up that they are able to stay consistent with, and you've got to do the same as well. So no consistency, you haven't got a program, got nothing to build upon. We've got to take things into consideration, like how much realistically are people going to be able to get to the gym week in, week out? And how much time they've got at the gym, and all those kind of things, what equipment they've got, really looking at the individual and how we can help them to be consistency. But consistency is really so important, and we have nothing if we haven't got that. So let's get into it. The first one, exercise selection. So we hear a lot where we have to do certain exercises. This exercise is best for this. This exercise is best for this. And it simply isn't the case because we are all so different. So when we are looking to select a movement, I want you to consider the exercises that feel good for you, that aren't necessarily just the easiest thing to do, but they feel good for you to perform. And when you do this movement, you feel you can do it well, you can progress it, which we'll come on to shortly, very, very well. And you're able to recover from it very well. But all in all, when we're looking at exercise selection, get away from this idea that this movement is the best. And if you're not doing this movement, you're not going to get the results. Simply isn't the case. Select an exercise you can perform really well with good form, and you can stick with it for at least 6 to 8 weeks. And as you can see, the note that I've put on the right-hand side there, a really good coach will do this. A good coach will be getting feedback from you to say, what feels good? Does this feel really good? How does this exercise feel? And if it doesn't feel good and doesn't put you in a good position to progress, let's change it out. The last thing that people want is to do an exercise that doesn't feel good, you can't progress it, and just aggravates you. We want people feeling empowered in the gym, not held back by exercises they just don't enjoy, they can't progress, and puts them at risk of injuries and things like that. So that's the first big considered that you need, and I think it's a very empowering one. Number two, and we see this so often in the gym, we must be looking for full range of motion. So whenever we're trying to perform a movement, we're looking to be able to perform it as well as possible with the greatest range of movement. So what do I mean by that? So if I'm lying down on a bench and I've got some dumbbells in my hands and I'm going to do a bench press, I'm going to lower that my arms and the weight, the dumbbells in my hands to a position where I can feel a nice stretch onto my chest. But I'm not going to go beyond the movement where my shoulders start to roll in. I've gone beyond my range of movement. Another example of that is a squat. Let's say you've got a bar in your back, you do a squat. Now, if I go to the bottom and then I go beyond my range of movement, and then I have to bounce out of the bottom, that is showing me that I've gone beyond my bottom range of my squat. So stay within your range of movement that you have available. And again, that is going to be relevant to the individual because we all have different range of movements, different limb lengths, tightness around joints. So we've got to take that into consideration. But what you'll find from performing movements in their full range that you have available, you'll get better results. You'll have to work harder, but you'll get better results in a better, shorter period of time. Because essentially, what you're doing is you're asking for more muscle fibers to kick in to perform that movement. I mean, we've all been to the gym, we've seen people doing partial reps, um, using momentum, and swinging weights around. I'm thinking they're doing a good job. They're not. What we're looking at is good form, but in this case, full range of motion. And it may be a case of you going into the gym, dropping the weights right down, and just going through the movement to find that range that you have available. Quality must come before quantity. So that's our second fundamental. Number three, rep ranges. Great question and get asked all of the time. What rep ranges are best? Now, if we're looking at fat loss and muscle gain, body composition changes, we've got quite a few ranges of rep ranges we can look at. We've got anything between 8 and 12. We've got anything up to 20. The more experienced lifters, you could even look at 20 to 30. Now, you're not going to do 20 to 30 heavy barbell back squats, but you may be doing something with a machine, a single joint movement with those higher rep ranges. And then those lower rep ranges is when you want to get a little bit more strength involved, to get a little bit more stimulus. They're larger muscle groups. So you may be doing a back squat, a deadlift, a bench press, or something like that, where the weights will get higher. And we're looking at anything from 8 to 12. Now, that's not to say I've never programmed 6 to 8 reps for a client before, but it is quite rare. We want anything between 8 to 12, 8 to 10, 12 to 14, even pushing it, as it says there, to 20. And on the odd occasion, we may even go beyond that 20 rep range. Anything below 6, 5, and 4, you're really dipping into just solely the strength markers. Okay. But if we're looking for fat loss, these are the ranges that we're looking at. And it's really great because what it does is the start of our program or session, should I say, we're looking for those heavier, bigger, larger movements that take a lot of energy to perform. We can load the weight up a little bit more. And as we move through the session, we can have more singular movements. We might bring some machines in, and we can elevate the rep ranges to really hit those fast and slow muscle fibers and really start supporting that fat loss, but also that muscle gain as well. And as I said on the right-hand side here, lower rep ranges will be found close to the start of your session, and the larger rep ranges will be produced later on in the session. And that's really how we want to start structuring our sessions. So number 3, rep ranges. And as you can see, it's pretty large when we're talking about fat loss and body composition. Number four, tempo. Another hugely overlooked fundamental. Again, if we go into most gyms, we're seeing people throwing things around, not controlling movements. Most likely, they're not going to be able to progress. They're going to probably find their fatigue very easily and won't be able to recover. And also, they're probably going to pick up a injury at some point. So time under tension is a fantastic tool that most people aren't utilizing, and it helps you to make progress, particularly the eccentric phase. That is basically the lowering part of the movement. And I'm going to show you how this is set up in four stages. So for example, we're going to look at the bench press. Let's say it's a barbell bench press. So we're lying flat on the bench and we've got some dumbbells in our hands. With the first movement, the 3 seconds, as you can see, it's the first number. We're going to lower down the eccentric phase in 3, 2, 1. Now, that second number is 0 in this instance. That's how long you're going to wait at the bottom. In this instance, it's nothing. So as we hit the bottom range, we're going to come back up in 1. That's your third number. And the fourth number is how long we're going to stay at that top position. So 4 numbers, it's really going to slow you down, help to support technique and quality of the movement, but you're going to increase the amount of time under tension. Your muscles are going to have to work harder. You may have to drop the weight down, but this is going to be great because of all those other things I've just mentioned are going to increase. We can put this in regards to a squat. So 3 seconds down on the squat. We may have a 1 second hold at the bottom just to increase that time under tension. 1 second up, nothing at the top, and then back down for 3. So start thinking about tempo, more time under tension. The muscles that you're trying to train are going to have to work harder for longer. You're going to get better results. Now, number 5 is RPE. RPE is rate of perceived exertion. And as you can see, I've put a scale here for you to get some context around this. And this is going to be really helpful for you to be able to, again, put longer term amounts of progress together. Again, most people going into the gym think they just got to work as hard as they possibly can work every time they step foot in the gym. It simply is a quick way to injury, fatigue, and a really dislike to train. Because our bodies really don't like being pushed all of the time to maximum effort. Okay. Sometimes there may be times within our training cycle where we may go there. Okay. But the RP is going to really look after your ability to stay away from injury, be consistent, and really enjoy your exercises. So as you can see with the scale here, you've got 1, it's really, really easy. Probably you could perform that movement all day long. And number 10 is maximal effort. So that is 1 repetition you couldn't do any more after that 1 rep. It's like a 1 rep max on a deadlift or a squat or a bench. Okay. And now, optimally, and we've got to take into consideration, knowing your rates of perceived exertion is really difficult, particularly for someone who is new to training. Okay. But as we get better at it, as we become more and more aware of it, for hypertrophy improvements, body compositional changes, we want to be around the 7 to 8 RPE range. And as you can see, that's very hard to very, very hard. Okay. But it's definitely not an extremely hard, and it's definitely not maximal effort. And I really find that this is going to be challenging, but it's going to really set you up to keep quality, keep control, keep progressing. Okay. And as we progress, this is something that we can push. And as you can see later on in the training, this presentation, I'll show you the other things that we can progress. But RP is one of those things that we can progress. So it may be a case of week 4, week 5, or week 6. We're edging a little bit closer to an RPE of 9. And then we may have a week at the end of our training cycle of maximal effort. And we may have 1 or 2 movements in that session where we do push it towards maximum effort. And we can't possibly do it anymore. Quick reference, what kind of like 7 to 8 RPE feels like. you're picking a weight that you could do an extra couple of reps without any breakdown in form. So if I am doing my bench press, I pick a weight, I do 8 reps, and then I could do, if I absolutely had to, do 10, but I couldn't do any more. And that is where like a 7 to 8 RPE is. So consider RPE. This is really going to look after you again for the consistency. Number 6, RIR, reps in reserve. And I mentioned this slightly earlier, okay? So reps in reserve is really beneficial when you're selecting a weight. Most people going into the gym, again, they're just picking up the heaviest thing they can pick up, and they have no reference in trying to progress this. One of the great things I like with reps in reserve, it allows you to keep your quality and make sure that you're progressing over time. So again, going back to maximum effort here, the rate of perceived exertion, I want to pick a weight that allows us to have a couple of reps in reserve. Okay. So we can select a weight with 2 reps in reserve, i.e., a weight that would allow you to perform 8 squats and an extra 2 if you really needed to. This is an excellent place to start and progress. And as you start going in the following week and you get to your squats, you think I'm going to add a little bit more weight on, but keeping a couple of reps in reserve. And this is a really nice place to be because you've added weight, you've added progression, and you know you're getting stronger, you're keeping the form, and you've got a couple of reps in reserve. Really nice place to start. Okay. Number 7, technique matters. So as well as being consistency and all these other things I'm talking about with time and attention, exercise selection, if we haven't got good quality, we're going to be really leaving a lot of progress on the table. Okay. And it's going to take us a hell of a lot longer to get the results we want. And we're not going to enjoy the training as much. So technique really does matter all of the time. Okay. If you're unable to do good quality or really maintain quality, and yes, it's not, we're not saying it's really easy, but if your range of movement narrows and you're just not performing very well, drop the weight, get back to technique. This is always going to really help you. So don't neglect your technique. And a great way to do this, as you can see the side note there, videoing your movements can really help you visually see what is going on and where you can improve. I ask my clients all the time, take videos, let's see how you're performing. Let's make sure that technique is as good as it can possibly be, because it may feel like you're performing it really, really well. But then when you watch it back, there are some nice little changes that you can do that are really going to allow you to get more out of that movement. So technique really matters. And progressive overload, something we can't forget. So I've told you about progress, been talking to you about progress. So progress really matters. If we were to just go in the gym, we may have a fantastic training program set up and we did the same movements with the same weight, with the same amount of reps and sets. Our body would adjust initially to that, but then it would stop making progress. Our body needs stimulus, new stimulus to adapt and change. It needs a reason to adapt. One of the biggest issues that people face and why they don't see the results they're looking for is because they get stuck in doing the same exercises at the same weight, same reps, same amount of sets, and their body just has got no reason to adapt. It takes a lot of energy and a lot for our bodies to adapt, to add muscle. Okay. So we need to give it something to do that. It's going to be quite happy dealing with the stresses that you're giving it in the gym, out of the gym. It will cope with that and it will stay the same. We need to elicit new uh, uh, reason for it to adapt, new stimulus. Okay. Number 9, MAV, maximal adaptive volume. So this is basically if we were to implement more reps, adding weight, adding some movements over time, A lot of people think, well, you could just keep doing that. But your body would get to a point where it is unable to recover after that amount of volume that you've applied to it. So you may find over 4 weeks or 5 weeks, you're progressing. Week 6, you're just one, unable to recover from the exercises and the session, and you're unable to get on with the rest of your day, and you're unable to recover in time for that next session. Or you can't, or as well as you're unable to add more sets or just through time being in the gym, or even add more load. Okay. And this would be that you are reached your maximum adaptive volume. And at this point, it may be a case of bringing in, as I can say, I've said down the bottom there, a deload week where we drop the weights down. We keep going to the gym, but we just move through the motions. We just keep our bodies moving. I've even had clients where they've had to come out of the gym just because at a mental standpoint, they've really, really pushed and they need some time just to get outside, do some walks that week, and then they're fresh and ready to go to push again. So you'll be pushing and pushing and pushing until you get to this MAV, maximum adaptive volume. And then you'd need to back off because you just can't recover from that amount of stimulus that you are giving your body. So bear in mind with that. And again, my clients, depending on the individual, some clients will progress until 4 weeks and need to deload. Some people can do 6 weeks. It's very rare people go over that 6 weeks, but we have had people that can really progress over 8 weeks. Okay. If you're keep progressing to 10 and plus weeks, you have probably started far too light and not give you the stimulus to the body that needed right at the start of that training block. That takes us on to training frequency, how frequently we need to train. Now, again, most people may be going into the gym and training legs, let's say once a week, or chest once a week, or back once a week. And that might be fine in the first few weeks, a month or two of your training, particularly if you're brand new to exercise and training with weights. But your body, again, is designed to adapt with new stimulus. And you'll find that you're able to train muscle groups at least twice or even 3 times a week if your time allows you to. We've got to take that in consideration. But at least twice a week where we should be able to recover after 2 or 3 days. And your muscles should be ready to go again if we're training really well and doing everything we should be doing, eating well, resting up outside of the gym. Okay. Reaching weekly working sets of around 8 to 15. So across the whole week, you want to be hitting anything from 8 to 15 working sets across the week. And that's really difficult to hit if you're just training it once a week. But if you're training legs twice a week, you can really elicit more volume and more frequency of training to that muscle group. Quads are big muscles, glutes are big muscles, hamstrings, and being able to split that up and train that more frequently, twice a week, is really going to help you to get better results. Okay. And depending on the individual, 15 working sets might be better, but for some, it may be closer to 20. Again, it takes us back to the to MAV, maximal adaptive volume, and it's all down to the individual. But we want to push it as we can progressively from week to week to find out where our sweet spot is. But training muscle groups, particularly larger muscle groups, 2 to even 3 times a week is really going to help you to get better results in a better amount of time. And I wanted just to finish this off with giving you a 4-week progressive example, or progression example, should I say. So let's say this is a plate loaded leg press. So we're using a machine, doing a leg press. Week 1, we're working at an RPE of 7. We've got 6 reps and we're using 40 kg. Okay. And we're getting that 6 reps. We probably got another couple of reps in reserve because we're doing an RPE of 7. Week 2, we come back to the same movement. Now we're going to do an RPE of 8. We get 8 reps, still at 40 kg. Week 3, RPE of 9. So we're edging a little bit closer to that 10 RPE, our top marker. That's dropped us down to 6 reps. But as you can see, I've now loaded up to 45 kg. Week 4, this is the big week. This is where we want to push it. And this is why we've put it at RPE of 10. And we've got 6 to 8 reps and we've got 45 kg. As you can see from week 1, 2, 3, up to 4, in some way we have progressed over the intensity, the reps, and even the amount of weight that we are moving. This is continuously giving our bodies a reason to progress, and to add muscle and to work harder. So, guys, that is my 10 foundations of fundamentals to a successful training program. This is really going to look after you long term. And as I said, when you come to the end of that training cycle, it's about backing off and then going again. Throughout the year, you should have your training in cycles, almost like waves. So it increases in intensity and difficulty, how hard you're finding it. It backs off, gives you that space to recover, and then goes again. And I can assure you guys, if you start being aware of some of these things, even if you start to implement 2 or even 3 of them into your training, you're going to feel and see progress a lot quicker than if you didn't have them or be considering them in your training program. So don't fall into the trap that everyone else falls into of lifting just really heavy as much as they possibly can, very, very quick, and not tracking everything. Implement some of these things, guys, and I can assure you you're going to get some great results, and you're going to feel empowered, and you're going to enjoy your training program a hell of a lot more. If you want to learn more about what we do at the Strong Life Club and how we help our amazing clients transform their bodies, transform their health and their well-being, and have a positive impact on their families, then I'd love to have a conversation with you, what you're currently struggling with, what your goals may be, what you've tried in the past, and really start to map out a very personalized approach to your goals and your lifestyle. Thanks for watching, guys. Leave some comments. Let us know if you want to learn more, and we'll speak soon.